Yo, what's happening, baby? This is the Flaming Sword Unsheathed, and I'm your host, Kamsi Khan. Um, we got this so-called purge law thing going on, and I really I'm really kind of on this phase where I would like to discuss like distortions of logic and stuff like that because game is being ran. As a matter of fact, game has been ran. The bounty has been scraped and the matrix has been reset. So let's just always take the time to peep game. And like with this so-called Chicago purge law, you know, they say that it's a purge law, but it's really like how can I say it? It's the second step. It's the natural, logical step to the first act law, to the drug law, where they say, I don't know if that was the first act law or whether it was the drug adjustment law where a lot of sentences were adjusted. This so-called purge law is actually like the slippery slope, next natural progression of laws like that. And I mean like laws that were meant to redress the overwhelming disparity in how the laws impacted certain communities and things like that. I have a couple of things to say. It might be kind of like a strange take on all this, but I don't know. This is the Flaming Shore Unsheathed, and I'm Kamsi Khan. So here we go. The first thing that I have about it where I feel like, it's not a bad law because, in a way it enforces self-policing in the community. Let's just say for the sake of arguments, you be in situations, you might have a sister or a daughter or, your mom's or your auntie or cousin or something that you got love for, and they got a dude who just keep putting hands on them. And you warned them like 3 times. You know what I'm saying? Like, dog, man, every time you put hands on him, he go to jail, be in jail a week, 2 weeks, get out on bail, some crazy shit, the bruises don't went away. You ain't as mad, But let's just say for the sake of an argument, there's no bail. Meaning that if you put your hands on your woman and the police come, if the police make it before her father, if the police make it before her brothers, if the police make it before her cousins, if the police make it before her baby daddy or some nigga that want to fuck on her, excuse my language, if the police make it before all of them, son, if the police make it before them because they said in the script that, yo, it's up to you to decide what force you want to use to get a person off of your property. So if you messing around and hit your dame with Sweet Chin music over some fuck shit, she's gonna call her peoples. That she's gonna put the red light, the green light on you for at least 5 minutes. In them 5 minutes, if police ain't there to come and get you, that's all her brother, her father, her son, that's all they need. You're going to get violated. And even if police do come, they're just going to take you to the precinct, give you a piece of paper, and I guess send you back home. You're not going to jail. You're going to have to go back home. You're going to have to go right back to them streets to meet that girl father, to meet her sons, so whatever crime you do, You know what I'm saying? I think that a lot of times, like especially in this American culture, jail is so sensationalized that it has pretty much relieved people of accountability for the things that they do. Some people think that they are right to do the things that they do because they're willing to go to jail over it. But what if you ain't going to jail over it? Think about that. What if you're not gonna go to jail? What if they just gonna give you a court date and release you right back into the streets? Like if you go to school, like you going to school and shit, and the bully tell you I'm whooping your ass after school, and you sitting there staring up the clock like old boy in the wood and shit. Imagine if going to jail was like that. You ain't finna sit in jail for 2 weeks and jack ball with the homies. You ain't going to jail because you haven't been convicted. Which leads to my next point. Most of the people who are in jail and sitting in jail are not convicted of any crime, which spits in the face of the concept of innocent until proven guilty. A lot of times, people are bullied into sitting in jail until they admit that they are guilty, and then they're released. They just gave time served. Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Disorderly conduct, second one, you've been sitting here for 9 months. So, just plead no contest. We'll give you time served. Who ain't gonna take that? I've been locked up 9 months over some riffraff. What, I mean, like, it takes away from the strength of the plea deal, because even thorough cats will tell you, like even some of the most thorough cats, I done been in prison and I done been in the county. And I've been tempted to take prison bids. Man, look, I took a 9-month county jail bid. And I was getting half time off. So the 9 months was actually like 4.5 months. You know what I'm saying? And by the time I was done with them 4.5 months, I pretty much wish that I took that year in prison, because, county jail time is different from prison time. And that is pretty much used to leverage. Especially in other states like Illinois, people be sitting in jail for years. People be sitting in jail for years in Illinois. No conviction. Just sitting there just because they ain't got bail. And like I said, it gives the government a leverage that they shouldn't have. If you want to get out of jail, you're not getting out. So pretty much there are people out there who, irregardless of the reason why they're in a police car, they know that they are not getting out of jail until the proceeding has been concluded. And they also know ain't no telling how long that's gonna take. It could take 6 months. It could take whoop-de-whoop. But I know that I'm on blank days for the next whoop-de-whoop. Which is, a point. And, the last point that I would like to make, I don't know how much of a point it is or how much of a point it ain't. But if you're not convicted of a crime, how can so much of a certain demographic of this country be incarcerated without being convicted of a crime. And how can I say it? It becomes a burden on the citizenry to keep people in prison who are not convicted of a crime, because what happens is it puts everybody, not only that person it puts the community in a sort of limbo, because that person has to be provided for. County jails have to be paid for. Sheriffs have to be supplied just to sit over there and stand over them. Then you got insurance, you got liabilities, you got all of this stuff just to keep a person in jail who wasn't convicted. It's counterproductive. You could allocate those funds to the self-policing of the communities that is gonna become a natural consequence of the no bail. Because basically no bail is stripping the police of their power, because police's only job is to investigate and apprehend criminals. The police doesn't prosecute the cases. They just comb the streets, get the evidence, catch the person who did it, and hand over that person and the evidence to the DA for further proceedings. So if there's no bail, there's really no reason to allocate state funds to the apprehension and confinement of people who are not convicted of felonies. And me, myself, personally, man, like, another thing is that, like I say, like the self-policing, the tightening up in the community, like a lot of the stuff that's flying nowadays. One thing I know about Chicago, you know what I'm saying? One thing that I know about Chicago and their culture and their attitudes is that them niggas get down. You know what I'm saying? And as funny as it sounds, it was actually law enforcement who tore down structure in Chicago. It was actually law enforcement who was the reason why Jeff Fort was stripped of his juice and influence. And law enforcement is the reason why Larry Hoover was stripped of his juice and influence and ability to police the community. The reason why, you know, Shorty Freeman, U.S. Floyd, these brothers, I'm sorry, I forget the brother name. He's Benny Lee. You know, these brothers' influence and impact on the community was not how it should have been. Law enforcement was the reason that Fred Hampton was shot down and murdered in Chicago. So law enforcement has been the number one reason why in Chicago, the OGs, you know, the very strong legacy of revolutionaryism and, you know, mobsterism and gangsterism and revolution, and you know, they're a different breed of cats. In that breed of cats, the reason why that particular breed of people wasn't able to flourish the way they were supposed to was because of law enforcement. So it's only right that law enforcement are stripped of their um power and influence to some degree, so that the OGs and who are resurfacing, man, they're resurfacing and they're expressing their attitudes and moods about everything, and I feel like it's only right for law enforcement to relinquish some of their hold on the community so that these brothers can have a little bit more juice and exert more of a hold on the community without having to worry about, all of the things that they had to worry about. The no bail thing is really, like I said, a natural step from the First Step Act, the drug act that Obama put together. I think that was a part of the First Step Act. I don't know. But these are like natural progressions that strips the government or the powers that be of their ability to dictate what goes on in the community and let the communities dictate it themselves. Which is how it's always been. I was talking to a dude up here in Appleton, an old dude. He said something that was really, really interesting to me. He was like, yo, back in the 60s and the 70s, up until like the mid to late 80s, you had to do something real bad to go to jail and just sit there. You had to do something bad. They would basically do what they're saying that they would do now. They just give you a court date and send you home. Sit you in jail overnight, no bail, court date, send you home. You had to do something heinous like actually kill somebody. So it's not a purge law. It's a reset. It's a reset that's saying the government has too much pull. We need, especially at times like this, we need for our communities to be able to act autonomously and move and police itself. And, like I said, with the strong Blackstone Rangers, Vice Lords, Black Souls, Black Panther tradition in Chicago, they have a strong tendency towards self-policing the community anyways. That's what mobism is about. That's what gangsterism is about. Running your community. So, I don't think it's a purge law. I just think that it's a releasing of the shackles that government placed on certain people, good and bad. And everything pretty much remains to be seen how things are going to play out. But I'm very encouraged by the resurfacing and platforms given to a lot of older brothers from Chicago. It seems like they have a lot more influence. And I remember on Vlad, people were saying, oh, don't nobody listen to the OGs in Chicago. But it seems that that's not the case. These guys have a lot more influence than people think, and I think that they really will be able to organize and self-police themselves and protect themselves as long as, they are willing to go through the opposite end of the spectrum. There are going to be some very, very ugly aspects of the defunding of the patrolling and the investigation aspect of police work. It's only really going to be about apprehension. Police ain't going to have no job in Chicago. So you're going to have an unarmed militia just roaming around the city. There's something that has to be accounted for that, but I don't want to be in Chicago and I don't want to live there during that time, but I don't feel like that's something that the people of Chicago can't handle. Like, them some thorough cats over there, man, and I really feel like, remove a couple of shackles and them gangsters can reclaim them streets and do what the gangsters were supposed to been doing in the first place. But like I said, I'm still music and working. I don't want to offend nobody or go too far or say nothing like that. This is a Flaming Sword Musing, and I'm your host, Com Sing Com. Be blessings and be blessed. One.